Hey folks, in this video I'm taking the a7R5 out for a more detailed shoot after my initial hands-on in New York City. We're going to be shooting with a couple of models, shooting at a tennis event, some low light portraits, fitness and much more. So stick around, there's some big surprises here, including the speed you're able to achieve in each of the new RAW formats. Hi folks, I got back in the Sony a7R5. Hopefully you saw my initial hands-on testing with Steph in New York, where we both shot it together. We only had a day with it there. Thanks to B&H, they sent me out another copy to Hong Kong. I've got several different lenses, the 24-70, this one, the 51-2. Compared to my Nikon, it's so nice and compact. And their big telephoto zoom. So in this video, I'm gonna put it through lots more tests. I only did two people, me and her, a puppy, and some chipmunks, so we'll put it through all kinds of tests in this one. But again, let's start out with some simple portraits. Hi Felicia.
Hi.
Felicia's here too. Okay, let's go. Okay, wow. So, in my first hands-on, I talked about the autofocus. I'll stand by that it wasn't doing well pulling out the chipmunk or squirrel that we were shooting in Central Park. But I've done this kind of test with so many cameras. A lot of them are going to struggle if you're moving in and out of foliage to try and stay with an eye. This combo is doing fantastically well, but the real test is, can it find her through all of that mess if you start out of focus? Having the eye to begin with and then moving all of the stuff in front, it's already doing quite well to stay with her. But if it doesn't see her from the outset, how will it do? Let's try. So that's pretty impressive to find face and eye. There's lots of bushes, branches between her and I there. Let's do it again. So here, you can see how much crap is in between her and I. Here I'll switch it to manual focus. Pull your head just in a little, yeah. Really hard. Okay, so manual focus. Let's focus it really close. Okay. Okay, so that's too much for it. That. And now she's actually quite in the frame, but it's focusing too close there. So we have to get the thing it was stuck on out of the way. So not perfect, but honestly, that's very, very good. Unlike that background noise. Let's go somewhere else. Hey folks, I just wanted to let you know that I'm finally back on the road for 2023 running my workshops and tours. I'll be in New York City with Steph running Take Control of the Light on the 1st and 2nd of April. I'll be in LA running Art Nude Portraiture with Honey on the 8th of April. I'm also going to come to Singapore to run a workshop, and I'm going to do a 2-week tour to Kyrgyzstan. You can find all the details in the description below. So I have to say, of the things I've loved about the A7R5 so far, this 51.2 has probably been chief. So small, so light, great image quality. Now there are more things I want to test out on this guy. I also got the 200 to 600 lens. So later I'm going to go shoot it at the tennis and see how that combo does with the speed and, you know, the improved processor and all of that kind of thing. This camera's also got 8K and a really high quality 4K mode. So we're going to test both of those. We'll include some samples in this video, and for the first time it's offering small, medium and large RAW. So I'm going to take samples in each of them, make sure that you can download them to check out the quality difference for yourself. I want to do more tests though, so I've got some models coming in. We're going to do some yoga-y stuff and then go do some street portraits as well. Most likely with the 50, the 200 to 600 would mean we're on the other side of the street. So I think they're on their way now. Let's get to it. So one thing I wanted to test was how it does with focus acquisition and tracking and how well it clears the buffer. So seeing this model now has the small, medium and large RAW modes, I'm going to ask Heidi to do 3 runs and shoot it each time and just keep an eye on how long it takes to clear and if it makes any difference to how well it's tracking. Now let's wait for this gentleman behind you, otherwise it may grab his face. Okay, so from this distance it already has her. This is our large option. So whenever you're ready, run at me. Okay, and to there, it did start to buffer, but it seems like it has cleared to the card already, so nice job. And that didn't look awkward at all. Natural runner. Great, I would like you to... Yes. Well, because you guys could both like really hurt me if I were rude. So I would like you to do it 3 times if you don't mind. Okay. I'm going to do a slightly different format each time. Okay, so this is great to see. It does freeze up at the last minute, but it's not taking ages to buffer. Let's now do a raw small option and see how many we get off. I haven't worn you out yet? No. One more then, please. Okay, so I run at the same speed. Yeah. Usually electronics at how many frames per second? High, so whatever it'll get off. You know, when they say it'll do 20 or whatever, it doesn't mean it actually will get that. So that's the other thing I'm testing. I want to see between here to there, do we actually get more with the small? Because sometimes, you would know this, but I can tell it to people at home, our fitness model is also a photographer. It's sometimes that the shutter speed is not fast enough to let it get the 20 frames a second, but it could also be that it's the buffer or the processor just isn't capable.
Lenses are not fully compatible with the full speed of the
could be like for the aperture opening and closing, but I'd be curious. I wonder if shooting small, it's less work on the camera if it actually gets more frames off. So
at least on the buffer, should be easier on the buffer.
Yeah. Okay, just come back to where you started last time, in between those two. Yep, perfect. So I wanted to jump in and explain this in studio. It was a little confusing what I was trying to say there to Ben outside. My thought was that a lot of people will be excited about small, medium and large RAW because that gives you the potential to save file size when you don't need to. And you know, when you're shooting a full frame camera and you, for example, shoot in APS-C mode, you get more frames per second. So I was wondering how that would all play out. It was actually the opposite of what I expected. I think it's actually the processor, again, limiting the camera. When I shot in RAW large, medium and small, we actually got the most shots off in large, then medium, and the least shots in small. So I think the extra processing it has to do to make them small is slowing the camera down. Now I did it again in studio, just shooting a static subject, still with continuous autofocus on, shooting for 5-second bursts in all of the different RAW formats. And it was actually really surprising the difference in the results you got. So shooting uncompressed RAW, we were getting 35 shots off, and there we're talking like 127 megabyte files. Shooting compressed RAW, we were getting 43 shots, so actually more. So that compression and that halves the file size essentially. That amount helped. That amount of processing power it finds easy. The file size saving actually speeds things up. Then it gets more complicated. In large, it dropped from 43 down to 33. Shooting in medium, it dropped from 33 down to 32, and then shooting in small, it went from 32 down to 29. Admittedly, the file sizes are only 35 megabytes there, so it's really brought it down a long way from the uncompressed being over 120. So you have to think about that. It's actually going to get you fewer shots, but then you get them cleared so much quicker, because imagine, instead of shooting 43 images in compressed RAW at a big file size, you're only getting 29 in small RAW, and they're much smaller files. So you end up having like 30 or 40% the amount of data to be written. Not at all what I was expecting from this test, but do download the samples and see them for yourself. After that variety of different fitness portraits, I wanted to get some more action, so I had Ben demonstrate to Heidi some jumping actions that I wanted her to do, and we just did a couple of simple series here to see how it would track her and stay with her as she got airborne. I got you, bro. I'm gonna go up to f2.2, yep. Amazing. Did you catch that? Did you see that? Amazing. Now I have to say the 51.2 is a beautiful performer, but above everything else, the handling is so great. Coming from the Nikon version, which is so gigantic, this is really refreshing. You might have seen I took a whole bunch of different long lenses for Nikon to the tennis. I also took this one along, seeing I had the 200, the 600. I went back and shot some more with it. As a combo, it was doing really nicely. The 200 to 600 is a great focal length. It's picking out the eyes great. The shooting in the daytime when I had lots of light was a really nice option. Overall, I really enjoyed the combo and there was no issues. Now, this isn't as fast as some sports, and using the long lens, it really isn't that difficult of a tracking situation. But again, impressed with the image quality, and I'll give you some sample files. Now, having tested the Sony with Steph in New York and then all around Hong Kong, one thing we haven't done is in a studio setting. So I want to just get some simple test shots here down at our base ISO to see how it's performing. Again, I want to give you small, medium and large RAW files so you can see the kind of quality difference that you can expect. And whilst we're here, I'll just grab a few other higher ISO shots whilst we're in controlled lighting situations as well. So having got those different shots there with the different RAW formats, let's now just go to compressed RAW and do a series of high ISO shots from about 200 up to 12,800. Having lots of continuous light in the room now, I can keep my aperture wide open. I'll just bump up my shutter speed as we go along and give you a selection of different sample files that you can download. I'll also put some crops at the end of this shooting. So look, after our first shoot and then shooting the tennis and the fitness couple now in studio, I think the findings pretty much round out what I had found with Steph. Definitely the best R camera to date. The autofocus is definitely improved, and I think I found that in these shooting scenarios more so than I did in the States. The low light capabilities for autofocus, it still struggles. Same for the high ISO image performance. But as a portrait camera, I think it is Sony's best, clearly the best in the R range. The processor improvements are welcomed, but you still are going to want to invest in those highest capacity cards like the CF Express Type A to get the maximum performance. Check out all of the sample files we have for you to download below. Thank you so much for both of our shoots in this video. Leave me any questions and we'll see you soon. See you soon. See you soon. See you soon. Somebody reset Matthew.